Imagine, if you will, walking through a place you've walked through thousands of times, like your hometown, neighborhood, or school, with one of your best friends when suddenly you hear rustling behind you. When you check to see what was making the noise, you notice a person behind you walking, slowly but persistently, unfazed by anything around it, focused solely on you. This begins to creep you out, so you ask your friend whether they see this creepy figure as well. But this sends a chill down your spine, as this just confuses your friend as they look at you and say, "What figure are you talking about? There's no one here." So you start to run away, running as fast as you can, for the slightest amount of hope of losing this thing behind you. Eventually you get to a wider open space where you can see your surrounding for miles in hopes of protection. But then suddenly in the distance you see your friend walking up slowly towards you, but something seems subtly off. They're not saying anything, they're just staring at you, walking slowly, never stopping. All it does is follow. That is, of course, the plot of the monster horror gem from 2014, It Follows. And the film keeps you enthralled in the experience of such a unique monster in a lot of ways that many other modern horror films do not do. But before we get into those ways, remember to like and subscribe if you liked the video, and if you stuck around to watch the whole thing, let me know your thoughts on the video down below. I read all of the comments and respond to most of them. Now let's get on with It Follows. The film begins with a teenager named Annie having a big mental freakout in her front yard as she seems to be running away from something that no one else can see. And during that freakout, she drives away to the beach where she is found dead, completely mutilated the next day in a horrific display where her leg is snapped almost backwards. Then we meet Jay, a university student who meets up with her boyfriend, Hugh, at a movie theater. At the movie, they play a game where they pick a random person out in the crowd and the other person has to guess the person that the other person is thinking. However, during one of the rounds, Hugh picks a girl in a yellow dress that Jay doesn't seem to be able to see. This freaks Hugh out, so he takes her to a more abandoned area where they proceed to have sex with each other. However, during their romantic encounter, Hugh proceeds to chloroform Jay and tie her up and take her to an abandoned building where he explains what happened to her now. He seems to have given her some form of STD where she will be followed by an entity until it kills her, and the entity will never stop until she is dead. And the only way to get the demonic entity off of her back is to spread it to someone else. This freaks Jay out to the point of living with some friends in order to keep herself safe, but in one of the nights she notices a urinating woman inside of the home, as well as an extremely tall man behind one of her friends, in one of the scariest jump scares in the whole film. However, her friends still don't exactly believe her until one of the times when they go out to a remote location to keep her safe, she gets her hair pulled up by one of the demons that they can actually see her hair being lifted up. But to prove that the monster isn't real, her friend Greg proceeds to sleep with her in order to see if the demon is actually real, but Greg is then immediately killed in his own home by someone who looked exactly like his mother. So in a small attempt to save Jay, they lure the entity to a pool where they try to electrocute it to death, failing immensely as the demon knows its plan and starts just throwing in the electrical stuff with Jay in the swimming pool to try and kill her. So they instead try to shoot it, but during the altercation, the boyfriend proceeds to accidentally shoot one of Jay's friends. But after dragging the entity into the pool, they are able to actually successfully shoot it and put it down for a little while. And in a way to try to keep the demon away, they proceed to have sex with a prostitute so it would spread around the city away from them. Now you may be asking what makes this film so scary, and to pinpoint just how scary this film can be, I'd like to focus on a single scene in the film, and that being the tall man in the hallway. To give some context of the scene so far, we know that there is a monster already in the house because she saw the naked lady in the kitchen, so we know at this point that the monster's in the house, but we don't know where it is anymore because she ran upstairs to try and get away from it. And because of it already being in the house, the tension is at an all-time high, so when we hear the friends' voices, we don't know if this is just the mimic again or if this is actually her friends, but is of course revealed to be her friends that are perfectly fine, and they act like nothing's going on. They're completely confused by why she is freaking out, so it gets you you to let your guard down, thinking that the threat of the scene might be over and that she might be completely safe. And they swear that they're going to protect her from what they think that she is going through, which they think she's just having a mental breakdown at this point, but it's actually happening. She is seeing a demon, but they don't know that. But it does give you a sense of security because you think that nothing is going to happen because that large group is there, that they're going to protect her from whatever this demon is. The tension, however, is raised again as we hear the friend that was by themselves start to knock on the door, silently not saying anything until they start to shout out that it's them. But once again, we're led to believe this might be a mimic again, so our tension is up to the roof again. But once again, the tension is lowered as it's revealed to just be her friend, and just completely confused about what the hell is going on because everyone else is freaking out about what's going on. So you're led to believe that nothing is going to happen. So you start to let out a sigh of relief that, oh, it's just going to be a normal scene, when suddenly this happens. This single scare made the movie for me. It shows just how good of an idea for a film this idea is. It's just such a creepy idea that no matter what you do, no matter where you are not safe. It can always just mimic someone and break into your house. And with just how large and imposing the tall man is, it just makes the scene so unbelievably disturbing, and it catches you completely off guard. And you only see it for maybe 3 seconds, and that 3 seconds is enough to instill that image into your brain. And what makes it even more disturbing is that you know she can't call for help because no one else can see this humongous being behind her. And the music by Disasterpiece in this scene really helps with the tension. It really sells the jump scare, if that makes sense. This is not a loud noise jump scare. This is a jump scare in the sense that it's just a very startling image really quickly that catches you completely off guard. And I think that's great because we don't see that often in modern horror cinema. And how they're able to effectively build a scare so well in just a 1-minute sequence is insane to me because it's such a great sequence and it catches you completely off guard when you're watching it if you don't know about it already. That's not the only good sequence in this film. This film is filled to the brink with good sequences, and while there is some parts of it I think that aren't as good as the others, there's many points of this film that are effective at being very creepy throughout the film. And it also doesn't help that the monster idea itself is just such a creepy idea. A monster that you cannot see if you don't have it, but it never stops following the person that it can see it. And the only way for you to get rid of the curse yourself is to pass it on to someone else, which means that you're essentially giving someone else a death sentence if you don't tell them what to do. So it gives a piece of morality to it as well, because you don't know if that person knows what's going to happen to them, and if they don't do anything about it, then they'll get killed because you didn't tell them what to do. And also the film is scary from a cinematography perspective because you can see the creature in the background of many shots just following the character, and it's just such a creepy detail that they did, and it's really unsettling. So you don't know if the person in the background is just a random passerby going the same way, or if it's the entity following the main character that they don't know about. And this causes a great fear of the unknown because you don't know if anyone in the background is real or if they're just one of the entities following her, and it creates a really good atmosphere because it's just so good at building tension because you don't know who is real and who's the monster. Because here's the thing, we never really know the monster's true form. We only see it as other people. It could potentially just be anyone. You never know who it is. It can even take the forms of people that people know, like for example, Gray gets killed by someone that looks like his own mother. And that raises the tension because we don't know if any of her friends could also just be one of the stalkers following her slowly. But I think because of that, the film is extremely scary throughout the runtime, and you don't know who is real and who's the entity. Now, is the film any good? Yes, the film is great, but will I say it's perfect? No. I do have a lot of issues with this film, especially near the end. I think the ending of the film is very anticlimactic, especially in the pool scene. I think past the first hour, it starts to drag a little bit because it's only can be so much in the film because it was such a limited budget. And I remember audibly laughing out loud when he accidentally shoots her friend because it just comes out of nowhere and it wasn't really adding anything to the film just to be like, oh, he's kind of missing everywhere because he's just kind of shooting to hit something. But overall, it just kind of comes off as a little goofy. So I think after the first hour, it's just okay. But that first hour of the film is great, and it builds up tension so well, and that one scene makes the film worth watching. I cannot underestimate how much I jumped the first time I watched this film, because I didn't know about that scene, and it really caught me off guard, and I had no idea it was coming, and it just completely blew my mind when I first watched it. It's such a simple jump scare, but it's just so effective while watching it. And it's just crazy because that's the only major jump scare in the film, and it doesn't even have a loud noise to go along with it. It does it perfectly without using the loud overused noise. So overall, I would give It Follows a 7 out of 10.